Hormones and emotions are flying all over the place. The man is in his midlife crisis, children hitting puberty and adolescence, aging parents, and all of this colliding with maybe my perimenopausal journey. Has my body already started showing signs of perimenopause? Or is it just my anxiety talking? And everything collides with your perimenopausal ride. Gosh, life is getting so overwhelming, and sometimes you just forget that things are actually getting overwhelming, which is even more frustrating. The plan today is to address a lot of such niggling questions that we women in our fourth decade of living in this earth go through. Hi, I'm Dr. DJ, and I'm here on the Gayu Lewis podcast. That's right, I'm your guest today, but we decided to flip the tables a bit because women like us are actually going through a lot of this, and I thought it would be best to have Gayu answer some of these questions that we have around perimenopause. So, here is a flip of the story. Here's Gayu Lewis. She's a board certified integrative health and nutrition coach. She's a certified menopause coach and a naturopathic practitioner. And nobody better than her. She's based in Dubai and she's helped thousands of women go through this whole menopausal journey. It's so amazing. Women across the age group of, say, 35 to 55 are going through this. Statistics say that is about 15 to 18% of the world population. So just as we are talking here today, 1 billion women are going through this. And nothing gets better. So let's have the expert on the show, Gayu. Welcome to your own Gayu Lewis podcast.
Thank you. If you guys don't know who this wonderful lady sitting in front of me is, her name is Dr. Deepa Jayaram. She's fondly known as DJ by her friends and everyone who knows her. She's loud, she's eclectic, and she happens to be my sister. We're not going to tell you whether she's my elder sister or younger sister. It's up to you guys to guess. She is actually a solopreneur. She is a PhD. She's actually a doctorate in communications, manages her own company, a single mom who has a teenage son who's my godson, and she does so much. She's a vivid traveler. She does couch surfing, can you believe? And but she is amazing. She is as loud as how she's just louder by the minute. But we've so far survived. I think we'll survive this 1 hour not killing each other and answer a lot of questions that bother most women, and they keep coming and asking me.
Well, I agree. I refuse to count my age. I think if I could change it in my passport, I think just going to call it 39 ish. And I'm sticking to that number because it is so scary sometimes to even think of being in the 40s. So tell me, Gayu, why don't we start off with that note? Am I going through perimenopause?
The big question,
Uh
right?
huh.
Am I? I'm not old enough. That this can't happen to me. These are
Indeed.
basically a lot of denial, I would say, in general with women. But honestly speaking, or science backed, is that if you are 38 and above, honey, you are in the perimenopausal journey. So, welcome is what I would say. It's better to understand and accept the changes that have started or will start as soon as as the time goes by. It's better to understand and make the right changes rather than denying it. Maybe because of the denial you might end up having a few more severe symptoms later. That's what I would say. But maybe for you the journey could be super smooth, where you not understand when perimenopause happened, when menopause happened, and post menopause you might not even realize it. Most women, a lot of people, when I remember when I asked our mom, she said, Gayu, from the time I got my periods to when menopause happened, nothing. Like for her, her periods was a monthly friend that came, hi, hello, high fives, and went, and menopause happened, and that's her life. It's super smooth.
I think my uterus is predominantly in this phase of time where it is like, oh, so you thought you're done with acne and periods. How cute. So it just seems to be throwing tantrums all around the time. And I don't know if that's one of the biggest symptoms of perimenopause.
They say there are close to 100 plus symptoms of perimenopause. People generally talk about the famous ones, right? Brain fog being the top one. Sleep disturbances, hot flushes, night sweats. These are general that most people feel, or most women, I would say, feel. but you got 100 plus, like seriously. And I remember I've done podcasts with so many doctors and they keep adding and adding. And you're like, when is this going to end? What is there a full stop to these symptoms? Somebody will come up with some new symptom, but that's your body in general. And it's not something that it's trying to take a revenge from you. It's just giving you signals at the end of the day, and we've got to pick up on those signals and then and say, oh, okay, this is happening to me. Take a note of it. I always tell women that start having a journal where you write down any new symptom you feel. Just take a note of it, saying, suddenly I got up in the morning and I had like a blackout that happened. Suddenly, like it's never happened to me in my life, but I got up this morning and I had like a blackout. Couple of times I got up, still I felt blackout and I sat down. So you've got to take that note down. Then you're like, okay, I'm itchy, suddenly very itchy. Every day I'm itching. Take a note. It's just like your journal where you're building on. Maybe it never happened again, it was a one off, but maybe if you see a repeat, then there is a pattern there. So just take a note, just take the cues that your body is talking to you.
Well, isn't there a test we could take instead? Like, for example, we had pregnancy kit tests. We could just like
Be
drop
on
a
it.
drop a blob into it and then know whether you are red or not red. But sorry, single line or double. Oh my gosh, yeah, life's moved on. Isn't there a test that we could maybe go to our doctor and GP or gynecologist and get that administered and know whether we are in our perimenopausal phase?
So it's not as easy as that, right? If it existed, then life is easy. Saying there are multiple kits available right now where is a prick and then you send the details down and they'll tell you. But what are they going to tell you? They're just going to tell you what your current hormonal levels are. Now, if based on that day when you took the test, if your estrogen was really low, then they'll be like, yeah, yeah, you're in perimenopause. But during this whole phase, right? Maybe not towards the earlier, but when you're 43, 44, that peak, I would say your hormonal, it's a roller coaster. In the morning it's something different, after maybe few hours your hormonal range is very different. So most doctors at that time will actually not even suggest going for a blood test, because it's not going to really show you what the truth or the reality is, unless you do like how, remember when you are pregnant you do that diabetes test, where
Yes.
every 2 hours you get tested. If you do that whole test on a daily basis, on an one day, maybe then there could be a pattern, but not really. So blood tests in the earlier, like maybe 38, 40, early 40s, you could still say that yes, whether I'm estrogen dominant or is my estrogen really low, and look at it. But during when you're in the thick of perimenopause, no blood test is going to tell you that yes and no.
Right. The hormones that you spoke about is the biggest fluctuating parameter over here, right? I was at the bar last night and this person came up to me trying to cozy up and says, "Hey, what are you having?" And though I went there looking for some fun and suddenly like mood swings, do you want some? So, this is getting so true. You're happy at one point in time and suddenly the mood swing is and you're like, you want some? And then the claws suddenly come out. So tell me, how does a woman try and manage and keep the emotions and hormones at bay during this phase?
Women in general are so good at managing and not showing emotions, I feel. Like they cover up a lot, but they show it to people who they care about. Like, I would probably just make sure I shout at my husband just to take that frustration out, which maybe outside I wouldn't do it, right? But that's because we kind of bottle up a lot of times, and then suddenly the let go might happen at a complete stranger, like what happened at the bar, or maybe at home when you just suddenly shout at your son. I'm just saying, because they know you, they understand you, kind of a thing. But this is natural. Imagine when you're going through PMS, you had the similar, issue just before your periods, just because, progesterone is slightly higher at that moment. It's suddenly low at that moment. And then you're like, nothing is helping you calm down. It's going to happen. The anxiety level, the mood swings increase. But my honest suggestion, or what I tell my girls, is that breathe. It's the cheapest form of self exercise or self care that you can do. Doesn't take any major equipment, nothing. It just you and a little bit of time. Just breathe. And once you're able to breathe, automatically you'll calm your nervous system down. That's it. Just breathe.
The nervous system does calm down. I think what does not calm down, I think, is this weight roller coaster, which is literally, I wouldn't even say roller coaster. It's like the Nike ad, it just likes the swish. It just keeps increasing, right? And the belly fat, oh my God, like every time you're sitting, you're like sitting something like that. And so what do we do? How do we maintain, or how do we even balance weight fat ratio in our body?
First thing I always tell people is that stop looking at a weighing scale. Okay, that number.
It looks at us, we don't look at it.
Yeah, okay, good. But don't look at that number and get frightened. I mean, that's what I would say, because a lot of time you'll have water retention. It's multiple things that can add on to that number that you see on the weighing scale. And based on your monthly cycle, you're of course storing more fat during just prior to you having your periods, right? Because your body is saying, hey, I'm preparing myself for a baby. And you're like, I don't want a baby, I want six-pack abs instead. But that's how we were made, uh, thanks to him. But what happens is that you've got to stop looking at that weighing scale and get scared. My thing is that start looking. Okay, if you want to get one test or one check done, get a BMI done, just to get an idea of how much muscle you have, how much fat you have, and how much in that fat is your visceral fat, because the visceral fat is the most naughty fat, right? Because that's the one that's around your organs, which is the bad fat for us. So we've got to look at that number, which is important. Then look at the muscle and fat ratio. Now, if your body has less muscle, more fat, that's where the harm is. But if you have good muscle mass and there's the fat, then we look at how we can reduce the fat, but by still building the muscle. Because what happens is, as you grow older, naturally, both men and women, our muscle mass starts reducing. We shrink. So we've got to keep that muscle, as much as muscle as possible, through strength training, keeping our bones more stronger, is that's more important. Build the muscle, and muscle weighs heavier. So the weighing scale will show you that probably when you were 60, you were thin. At 60, you're like looking like a fine person, thinner person. But at 65, you have muscle definition. Now, what's more sexy? You want to be skinny or actually have the muscle definition? So you should be comfortable in that 65 with the definition, because that muscle is going to help you in the coming 30 years. Maybe that skinny is not going to help you in the next 30 years.
That's so true. I completely agree. I think, one has to be healthy and look good and feel sexy and all of that. But Gayo, we are losing sleep over it. Do you get that? The point is, and when I say losing sleep, literally, I think sometimes my smartwatch is just confused whether, why suddenly in the middle of the night I'm like all sweaty and my heart rate's all pumping, but there's no movement or activity, right? Is it like, okay, so should I tell her that she lost like 500 calories? Or just go hydrate yourself because you lost 5 liters of water. So, what do we do about this whole night sweat and not sleepiness and insomnia and everything around sleep?
Yeah, it's called the 3M sweats, basically. That's what they
You know
call
the
it. And
name?
your company is called the 3M. Yes. I think that's why they're best friends of yours. But I'm just saying that sleep is underplayed, the importance of sleep. I think we all in our life are just running and running, and sleep is given the least importance. Whereas sleep does the biggest heavy lifting for you when it comes to your overall health. Everything in our body, all the regeneration of cells, the big processes in our body all happen when we rest, right? The rest and digest. Your digestion does not happen if you're moving. You need to rest for your system to move. So lots of stuff happens in our body when we sleep. And so the lesser you sleep, the lesser the functions in the body happen. So there are repercussions for it. So you've got to look at sleep as if strength training is important to you, sleep is equally important. Because if you strength train, say imagine you spent like good 1 hour 15 minutes in the gym, but you didn't sleep, you've actually got no benefit of that exercise in the gym. No benefit, because you're tired, your cortisol level is going to go high. You're not going to not burn the fat that you actually did. There's no muscle building happening, there is no fat burn happening either, because you didn't sleep. So sleep is key. Having a sleep schedule is very important. Routine. You've got to, like, when kids are born, you teach them how to sleep, but we've forgotten to do the same for us, right? So you've got to understand that there is a time. I need to go to bed every day at say 9 a.m., 9 p.m. And you have the routine. 9 p.m. I'm in bed. I have my cup of green tea, or I take my magnesium supplement because it'll help you, calm down, or anything that you prefer. Like, it's your schedule. You do a couple of breathing exercises. You might use a little bit of essential oils to help you. Cool environment. You've created that cave like atmosphere for yourself. And then you're training your body that, listen, it's time to release, yeah, melatonin. I need to sleep now. Because, and then you've got to, it'll not happen on the first day, but it'll eventually happen. But you do that and get at least your 7 to 9 hours of sleep. When I did my podcast with Dr. Julie Mallon, who is the renowned sleep expert, she said we are either a 7 hour sleeper or a 9 hour sleeper. What you define as good sleep is when you get up and you're not tired. You wake up fresh. For me, I'm a 9 hour sleeper. Guarantee. My husband is probably a 7 hour guy. So when he wakes up, he tries to wake up the whole world. But I can sleep. So I'm a 9 hour sleep and I try to get my 9 hours sleep. For me, I am someone who does Sudoku. If it's my night practice, 9 o'clock, I'm in bed. You'll not see me moving around post 9 o'clock anyways, unless I'm invited to an event. And I'm trying to keep myself anyways in bed by 9:30. I'm in my bed. I have my green tea in my bed, and I'd solve my Sudoku. That is what puts me to bed. And yeah, I'm out. I'm out and I wake up in the morning. That's my schedule. But everyone needs to have a routine, whether it's writing your gratitude journal, and breathing works very well. And when you spoke about the whole waking up in the night, one thing that can help you go back to sleep is try the 478 breathing technique. It actually calms your nervous system down completely and makes you feel sleepy automatically.
Interesting. I want to double click on the exercise bit you spoke about because that totally resonated with me. I'm somebody who hits the gym, I would say at least 4 to 5 times a week, right? Predominantly strength training, etc. And yes, I am tired. My muscles ache, but then you still continue to push yourself because you got to look a certain way and feel a certain way. Do you have any mantra when it comes to exercise for women in their 40s?
I would first say that stop doing the 5 days and punishing your body. You are not in your 20s anymore or your 30s where you could do that 5 days and you'll see the difference in your body. When you over exercise, you're actually increasing cortisol production, and cortisol does not help you lose weight. It ends up storing all the weight that you have in your famous belly region called belly fat. My advice to women is to do strength training 3 times a week. A good 1 hour session followed by at least a 15-minute cardio, which is walk on the treadmill, no running. I'm just saying walk on the treadmill or do a staircase climb, Stairmaster. Spend that 15 minutes, so basically cooling your system down, but getting the heart rate up a little. You're not trying to run a marathon at that time. Do that. The rest of the days, look more at stretching. Do maybe Pilates or yoga. Breathing is very necessary. But going on walks every day is extremely important. I say at least hit your 10K steps every day because people underestimate walking. Walking is amazing. So do that. But don't punish your body by going to the gym 5 days and pushing, because you're not going to see any difference working out 5 days a week. Because again, and when you work out, target, which area. If you're doing upper body one day, focus on upper body, then maybe a lower body. One day, do a full body. But break it down. Don't punish yourself and nourish yourself after you work out. So if you're doing all the workout and saying, I'm going to not eat food, again, it's not going to help you because you're putting your body in a stressed state. And when a body is stressed, it doesn't burn calories. It stores because it's saying, shit, it's starvation time. I have to survive. What can I do? I'm just going to start holding on to everything that I have as fat because I need that fat later to help me survive. That's how human beings were, right? So that's why don't punish yourself, nourish yourself, and be more aware of what will work and don't punish your body, is what I would say.
I love the word nourish. I think you're right. Absolutely, nourishment is important. But having said that, it's actually, again, so much to eat. Like, I'm told I have to have, like, 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per body weight, etc. And I told you how my body weight is going, and I'm supposed to have so much of protein and yet not gain weight. And how does one and then still keep it healthy and get the fibers in? Tell me again, in the nutrition scheme of things, how should one eat?
See, as soon as you talk about food, my eyes light up. I'm a chef by profession, as you know, and food plays a very important role, right? Like I said, sleep is important, exercise is important, food is important, mindfulness is important, breathing. I mean, that is all that comes together. That's holistic health, right? So you can't just focus on one element and saying, I'm eating healthy, rest everything should fall in place now. I work out, everything should, it doesn't. So basically, look at it overall. So when you talk about, protein, and I know this big P word, protein, protein, everyone's like, eat more protein. And I understand. I'm saying yes, because you've got to eat protein to make sure you're maintaining your muscle mass and also help in trying to build that muscle mass, right? Protein is the main component there. But that should not make you, really get irritated or just think about just that protein, protein, protein. We are human beings at the end of the day. We live, we are the only people who can actually have taste buds and enjoy what we're eating, right? Everybody, I mean, any animal on this earth also eats, but that's for survival. But we eat for its satiety. We can taste, we've got taste buds. So, of course, you want to enjoy what you eat. And sometimes it's a guilty pleasure of eating a slice of chocolate cake or, having a glass of wine. I'm not saying no to it, but I'm saying mindfulness is important. So, don't be focused only on, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, and stop enjoying life. Coming to the nutrition aspect, right? Yes, protein is important. To start looking at 1 gram per body weight initially. Don't if you're not even be able to take your 1 gram, pushing to two is going to be more difficult, and then you'll be more frustrated. Start slow. Look at 1 gram. And then with protein, you need to understand what are the different sources of protein. A lot of people in their head only have eggs, chicken, beef, fish stuck there. Of course, you've got the plant-based protein. The vegans will kill me if I say that that doesn't exist. You've got the whole plant protein range as well. Of course, the protein quantity is much lower compared to a meat source, but then it still exists. You might have to have larger amounts, but you can include it. But again, be more smart in terms of how you include these protein sources. A lot of people come and tell me, I had like a bowl of quinoa. It's such a high protein source. I'm like, it's actually a carbohydrate, has some protein. So you got to be mindful as to what you eat. So, no, this is protein or this is carbohydrate plus protein. How can I introduce all of this? But the whole game in this protein game, I say people forget fiber. Fiber is essential. So, because if you eat a lot of protein and very less fiber, you're not going to poop, darling.
Yeah. And it's also high strain on your kidneys.
Yeah.
So overall, you got to make sure that you're able to take the protein out of your system. On that note, I actually love the kind of recipes you post, Gayu, on your YouTube and Instagram, because I think that sort of gives me a way to have the protein but not feel guilty, because I've also added interesting stuff into it. And it also, I love the word, the satiety comes in. I feel like, oh my God, I did eat a piece of cake, or I did enjoy my hummus, and
Yeah.
I'm feeling quite happy about
Yeah.
it. So,
Hummus is something that I always tell people, if it's a healthiest snack that you want to have, go in for hummus. Very, very good. Good protein source. Eat it with a couple of vegetables. You've got your fiber element there as well. So, which is good. Again, knowing what you eat and how you can incorporate. Like, for me, my biggest thing I use is tofu. Right? Tofu is an amazing phytonutrient. It has estrogen mimicking properties as well. So, if you've got women going through menopause, estrogen levels dropping, you can always include tofu into your diet. And this tofu is an excellent protein source. So you don't have to just cook tofu as is and eat. Blend it and put it into your curry. So you anyways going to enjoy dipping your bread, into that curry and eating. You've got the extra protein already added in. One more source I always tell people to start including is nutritional yeast. It's a full protein. It's got all the amino acids that you need. It's got the nice cheesy flavor. Put it on your salad, put it into your sauces. Amazing. These are these hidden sources of protein that you can include without it bulking up, making you feel like, oh, one more chicken breast, anybody gives it to me, I'm going to, like, punch their face type. So you eating the protein, knowing that yes, I've got this much, but again, don't keep counting. Everyone's like, oh, let me get my fitness tracker. I'm going to, like, oh, this is 1.2 grams, this is 5 grams.
Oh, now, I have a smart app. I just have to take a picture and my app tells me. But yeah, besides that, you touched upon estrogen, Gayu, which brings me to the big question. How about an easy fix? I love easy things. How about HRT here? Would you recommend a hormone replacement therapy for women and, continue to keep the estrogen levels up? Maybe we would be as awesome in our 40s and our 50s and then take a call in our 60s. Are there pros and cons of HRT?
So HRT, there's this whole two segments, right? Some people are like, no, you've got to do the natural way completely. This is artificial. And then you've got the other side, which is science backed, which says that yes, you are supporting your body with hormones which are diminishing, and and estrogen, she is our goddess, right? She has been protecting us. She takes care of so many things in our body. And now suddenly she's almost going, like, we still, even post menopause, we have one strain of estrogen left in our body, but that's the weakest form. So she's gone. Now that's why, I always tell people, like, she plays such an important role, because till the time estrogen is in our body, women never have cardiovascular diseases. You'll never have anyone who's in her periods get a heart attack, because she always protects your heart. And she also manages your bone density, your bone. So she does a lot of heavy lifting for women. And as soon as that start declining is when, that you could start looking at, like, postmenopausal women start having cardiovascular issues. Osteoporosis, osteopenia becomes one of the most popular, common, issues that women face. That is because estrogen is not there in your body. Now, if you've done the right lifestyle changes earlier, you've taken natural supplements, that, you've gone the natural way of not taking the body identical HRT or the science backed HRT. You're taking, but there is all the possibility, right? I'm a naturopath. So there is black cohosh, which is one of the most widely studied natural herb that mimics the estrogen in our body. So you could take black cohosh if you want to do the natural way. You've got the red clover. You've got maca to support the whole libido. You've got so many that you can do from a natural point of view and stay. Or there's some people who don't take anything because their body is like, I'm okay with it. I do the strength training. I've got the muscles. I've got the bone strength, and I'm going to make sure I do what I've been doing, and I'll go through the phase. And maybe it's there in the genes that they have a very smooth journey. So it always happens. Like, there is the one side of that. And the other side is people have a lot of symptoms that they see, and then and they prefer an HRT. They go to a gynecologist, and then they, based on, of course, but HRT is, of course, prescribed. It has to be given by a educated person. You can't buy it off shelf and saying, I'm going to start taking the estrogen patches, because you got to understand what dosage. So you have to make sure you find the right gynecologist who understands you and who's supporting you. It's your decision at the end of the day whether you want to do the HRT route or not. Find the doctor, and if it works for you, screw the world. Their opinion doesn't matter. It's your health at the end of the day, and it's a decision you make for yourself.
Totally. The blue pill or the red pill decision. You touched upon libido, and oh my God, I can't talk enough about it. I think the libido and the sex drive sort of took a vacation to Bahamas and
Not coming back.
decided to stay there. But is there a way to actually get them deported from there and bring them back into your bedroom? How do we sizzle it out?
Totally. So basically, what happens is testosterone, which is another, it's a male dominant hormone, but women have it as well. And we have a certain percentage of testosterone, which is what helps us in building muscle and, of course, keeps the sex drive going. Now, even that starts diminishing.
Yeah.
That's why muscle building gets more tougher as you grow older. So to that date, basically, the one of the most natural way to do it is to take maca root. It's a Peruvian herb, and it's a very nice nutty powder. Just mix it up in your drink, or coffee or whatever, and have it. It actually prove there's a lot of science that proves that maca root helps in improving your libido. Yeah, but otherwise, when you start taking HRT, if you actually go that route, one of the other very common symptom is vaginal dryness, right? Because the lubrication there starts, it goes away. So estrogen again helps in maintaining that lubrication. So if you are really struggling with urinary tract infection, which is happening very often, that is basically because of low estrogen in your body, because of lack of lubrication there. It's dry, which causes frequent urinary tract infection. So you've got to then not look at just taking an antibiotic every time. It's again your body telling you that, listen, you probably might need to sub it. I need a supplement on that bit. So
You're right. You spoke about antibiotics, but what about these antidepressants and anti anxiety pills and so many other things? Because there is a huge part of our body which is not just the brain fog and did I just forget to take my keys or, forget the purpose of my life kind of brain fog, but also anxiousness, sweatiness, depression, lack of sleep. All of this kind of plays up, right? Mental health in this period of time, I would say, is again going through that same roller coaster as the body is going.
yeah, because the hormones are going through a roller coaster. So it automatically affects us. So, progesterone helps in releasing GABA, which is a neurotransmitter which helps in relaxing and keeping us calm. So if that also reduces, a lot of things go haywire. It's like, the wiring in your body is going a little off. So sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not working. So we've got to look at that wiring. Maybe look at doing some taping around it through supplementation. But with anxiety, with all of that, the biggest thing that you can do is breathing. Breath work plays a key role in managing our nervous system. So look at breath work. Start, if possible, start looking at meditation. I know it's not easy. Personally speaking, I find it challenging. That's why I use an app to help me meditate. That's what I tell my clients as well, to get an app that can help you with meditation and try small. Don't start attempting at a 30-minute meditation in the first place. 5 minute, even a 6 minute. It can have a big benefit compared to someone who did nothing of that. A 5 minute can do a big change in you. So start looking at breathing, start looking at meditation. But one thing I would say, if it's not really important, please stay away from any antidepressant pill. If there's a doctor who you go to saying I'm going crazy, and he says start taking antidepressant pill, stop that right there and go and get a second opinion, maybe from your gynecologist, who can then maybe get you HRT at that time and manage your hormone levels there, so that your estrogen or your progesterone is where, if that balance is there for you, you can manage it. Because moving out of antidepressant pill later will have repercussions. So just be mindful of that. Don't just blindly trust a doctor. I would say this because doctors are not trained in nutrition, they're not trained in menopause. They probably have one lecture that they go through. That's why find the right doctor, question the gynecologist as well. This is the right thing for me to do. Speak, have your close knit of friends. Sisterhood plays a key role at this time. Speak about it, talk to someone else, talk to a coach if needed, before you get into supplementation or a pill that you'll have to depend for the rest of your life.
Very interesting. You spoke about sisterhood. I think uh, that plays absolutely. Girlfriends are your best friends, part of it. But a lot of us who go through this phase of life, we are at the peak of our career, right? We are thriving. We are totally killing it at the workspace. Men are struggling to get to where we are. But in all of this, again, darling dear, the peri peri sauce in our life is just kicked in and made it all spicy and saucy. What is your take on women at workplace and how can we manage to still continue to succeed in our professional life while our body and mental health and physical health and everything else is going through this roller coaster? Can we keep it all safe and sane there?
Yeah. So, I mean, like perimenopause comes with its own challenges, right? Like I do a lot of corporate coaching, right? Where I work with corporates to help, first of all, women understand that they probably are going through perimenopause, and also making the managerial level, the men also understand that women go through this. and how do you work around or support women at workplace so that she's not suddenly gone crazy, or she's suddenly not sat in a boardroom and like she's forgotten, like, oh, what was I going to talk about? Suddenly, brain fog hits you at that moment, or you're sweating even though the air condition is like at 18 degrees. It's not, she doesn't want, it's nothing's going wrong with her, it's just her body, right, in general. So understanding and creating more menopause friendly policies around it, having the right medical support, all of that is necessary. A lot of companies now have a feeding room for mothers who have to either feed a baby or pump milk and store. There are feeding rooms now in companies. Maybe have a room where it's a more quieter room, a quiet room for people who have ADHD and stuff like that. There's something called as a quiet room as well. You could have a room specifically again for women, much more cooler room where she can actually calm down, maybe take the 10-minute break that she needs or body needs to reset, and then she's back her usual self. So I think a little bit of changes here and there needs to be done. But I think women as women also need to acknowledge the changes that they're going through and not fight it. There's a very famous term coined by Dr. Libby called the rushing women syndrome, right? Where we as women are always rushing. We want to be the best in everything. I want to be the best mom. I want to be the best wife. I want to be the best daughter, the best employee, the best boss, the best, employee, everything. We want to be the best. And we're trying to juggle too many things. And in that, we end up having the burnout. We've also learned to start to saying no, which is a big word which doesn't exist in our dictionary, but we've got to introduce that word right now in our body. Because if you introduce no and you start saying, this is my boundary, I am going to say no to this because this is going to have an effect on me later, the time is now. Set the boundary, avoid the burnout. I'm not saying not only at work, but as you as a person, avoid the burnout. So if somebody is saying, let's go out partying in the night, or, and you're like, no, I have got to go to sleep because if I don't sleep, I don't wake up fresh. And you're like, once a while, it's okay, but can't become a regular. So you've got to start putting those boundaries, understand this is important, this is not important. This work can wait. This doesn't need to happen right now. I don't need to be awake at 12 in the night trying to finish this because it can happen tomorrow as well. Start understanding that, set boundaries for yourself.
Oh, that's absolutely valid. I think boundaries, nothing makes you more happy than putting these boundaries and the nose in place. But this is also the time, I must say, that women in the workforce have to put their foot down and get things going. Look at it. We as women have been working or a part of the workforce even before Industrial Revolution. And still it has taken forever. And now some companies sort of acknowledge and say, oh, you could take some time off during your periods, right? It's like finally that some time off is coming. What do you think are steps that, and putting a room, I don't think is just enough that a company should do when it comes to addressing, again, this 18% of your population or women who are really important and are decision makers and movers in the companies and corporations that they work for. So, how do you work better, or how can you actually help corporates leapfrog to the next level where women are like, that's the place I want to work?
I would say first is start talking. Women also need to start talking. How many women earlier spoke about menopause? Yeah, they didn't. It was something that towards the end of my reproductive years, some people thought about it like that way. They didn't speak. Even girlfriends didn't speak with each other on menopause. If women didn't speak, how do you expect the men to know first? You've got to give them some, leeway here. So they didn't understand. So now women are speaking. So when they are speaking, and women are loud, and when they speak, the world hears in general. I think now companies are hearing. I mean, the word menopause is okay. It's still a taboo topic in most places, but it's gaining a little bit of attention that it needs. It needs a lot of attention. At least it's gaining a little bit. So, which is a good thing. But what companies need to do is just work and have a more proper developed more policy around women wellness. Have specific, because women work very different compared to men. Yeah, so we need tailored plans that work in terms of our wellness, in terms of how we eat, how we breathe, how we live, have specific stuff. I'm saying that there are corporates that have started, but it's a few to name. Eventually, I think, like I said, as women start speaking more and more, it'll gain the attention that it needs, because this is a very important phase of our life. Like you said, we've worked so hard at all our lives, right? Sacrificed lots of times where we've not spent, missed probably going to our kids' concert because you had an important meeting. And we've done that bit. And you've reached this phase of life where you don't want to give up right now. You want your company to say, "Hey, I understand how important you are," and they start making the changes. It will happen, but we need to communicate that, "Hey, dude, I get something called as a hot flash. I have something called as a brain fog." But if you don't communicate, they are not going to know. So it's up to you and me and all the women to make sure that this phase of our life is actually given the importance. It's spoken about so that the world will make the change.
No, I completely agree. You're right. I think people don't speak enough. There is stigma and all. Maybe that's because, it's just called like perimenopause and menopause and stuff. I would have just like maybe rebranded it.
Yeah.
I would totally. Maybe I would have just rebranded it to call it the great revolution or something,
Yeah.
so someone's like, oh my god, oh yeah, the great hormonal revolution. I think that's what I would have called it, and people are like, oh my god, I want to go through that, or a rebellion inside, and they are like, oh, let's attack, or maybe something like uh the understanding the black hole into the brain fog. And then suddenly people are like, oh my god, let's get more deeper into it, because nobody else wants to go through a perimenopause. But yeah, if it were to do some scientific work around understanding rebellion and brain fog and all, you're like
Mm.
maybe more interested. But no, jokes aside, you're telling us to do a lot, Gayu. I mean it. You're saying eat healthy. You're saying get enough sleep, get enough protein. You're saying take care of your body. You're saying breathe. You're saying drink water. You're saying, be successful.
Sleep.
Yeah, sleep. Love your family, love yourself. Remember to do all of this. Have your collagen. Oh my God. Like it is actually quite an overwhelming journey. But what is your biggest, and you're in this field, you've been here for decades doing this. um what's your sort of one big advice in all of these advice that you have given us? What do you think is the most priority?
You. If there is any time in your life where you need to start focusing on anything, it's you at this time. I'll tell you, we as women, when we grew up, we focused on studying at that time. Then we focused on our careers. Then we focused on building a family. Then the whole focus shifted on children, ensuring that they are brought up well. Our focus always been, and then you've got the aging parents. Now you're focusing on them. But true fact is, after a few years, the kids will go away. Your parents might or might not be there. You are there by yourself. And at that time, imagine you didn't do anything to take care of yourself during your 40s and 50s, and then you hit your post 50s. You are struggling. You're not able to get up. You're not able to sit without help. You've got a lot of ailments and, you know, physical ailments, probably some medical conditions. Who's there to take care of you at that time? I always say, right now, think of you 10 years later. What is that version that you want to be? Yeah, not 10 years ago. It's not like, oh, I want to give the advice to my 10-year younger self. I want to see what my 10-year older self is going to say that, hey, Gayu, thank you so much for what you did 10 years ago, that I am still jumping, I'm still running a marathon, or I'm able to play with my grandkids, or, do whatever, or probably do a personal best of a deadlift of 100 kilos. I'm just saying that is what I want women to start looking at. You, self care. Your focus is on you. If that doesn't work, lot of other things can slip. No worries. And your loved ones will always be like, "Ah, it's okay." They're not going to judge you saying, oh, mama did this or she didn't do this. They're not gonna. They know you. So focus on you. Love yourself.
That's actually hitting because you're right. This is a journey, as you said, and then 10 years down the line, this is going to happen. But tell me, once this is over, right? We are like, oh my God, I'm done with this perimenopause phase. Menopause, I presume, is going to be like, okay, end of journey, let's close the curtain. Is it actually rainbows after that? Or is there like a truck waiting on the other side of the road to like smash you with something new after
Are you really going
menopause?
to say unicorns at the end of the rainbow? Yes and a no. But it's the whole thing about there's a whole confusion with the perimenopause, menopause, right? Perimenopause is the journey that 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 you go through to hit menopause. Technically speaking, menopause is 1 day, which is basically when you've done 365 days of no periods. That day, you can say like, "Hey, I've hit menopause." That day, the next day you're postmenopausal already. So when people say I don't have menopause yet, I'm saying, yeah, you're still chumming, you still got your monthly period. That's okay. That's perimenopause. That's only time when you start. But imagine on the 364th day, you end up having you
Oh,
basically
yeah,
back in
back
that
in the
cycle.
game. Yeah.
So that's the thing to people generally don't understand that bit. Postmenopause, yes, it lot of um the big hormonal roller coaster that existed earlier during your perimenopause phase mainly will reduce. But again, what did you do during your perimenopausal phase? The lifestyle. If you made the right lifestyle change, yes, you're going to see unicorns. But if you didn't, you said, oh, push through, body push through, the body push through is going to have some effects later. And like I said, your estrogen is declined. You will have cardiovascular issues. That's like I said, if you are not, of course, doing HRT and you're doing the natural route, you've got the whole so you've got to make sure that you are doing all the right things to make sure that your heart's doing its job correct. You are strength training even at that phase of life, lifting what maybe not the 100 kilos, but still lifting the weight so that your bone density is still maintained to avoid osteoporosis. So you've got it's up to you. Don't expect to a magic to happen post menopause saying, hey, now it's over. Now it should have been all back to normal as my 20s. No, that's not the case. It's up to you. Did you do the right lifestyle change? If yes, you're going to see the rainbow and the unicorn is also. But if you don't, the truck is there waiting for you.
That's well said. But we are almost towards the close of our podcast. And I know, Gayu, that you have this fantastic session called the 1%. Yes, look, I listen to everything you put up. So the 1% is actually seeing how our families, the loved ones, the men in our lives can support us. What is your advice for the men as they go through this? Earlier it was like, oh, when Harry met Sally. Now it's more like now Harry meets Sally's hormones every day. So, how do they help us in this journey?
I must say, men are doing a lot better than what men did earlier. They are understanding women more. They're doing their bit. But I think what I'm very lucky to have a wonderful man in my life who has been a big support for me. And what I would say is that men just be there for us. Sometimes we just need to let our frustration out, just be there for us, listen to our bullshit that we want to speak and support us, just love us the way you have and we will thrive and so will you with us.
That is true. And I think it's the women who have to thrive, right? Women at the end of the day hold the whole family together. And, I feel you're holding your family, you're holding your business, you're holding your company, you're holding your children's futures. So everything is literally on you. And, when things go not so correct in your body, you tend to like take more stress around it. But I think it gives me a little more confidence of like, managing this whole thing, though what's happening in internal and inside of me, because I think, if I'm just able to take small right steps that you're talking about, Gayu, I think it would still be okay. It's not catastrophe. It is still going to sort of go around the way.
Like you said, it's the baby steps. It is one small step at a time. Like a child, the baby doesn't start running from the first day. It starts to first crawl and then, hold on to certain things and walk and then starts taking its tiny baby steps. It's exactly the same with health. You've got to start making small, small changes so it doesn't feel overwhelming to you and it then becomes part of your lifestyle. That is what is important. When someone tells you, right from today, 8 hours of sleep, 120 grams of protein, 5 days workout, deep breathing every and meditation 1 hour. Of course, you'll be like, okay, one day I'll do, second day you'll do, third day you're like, huh, I'm not going to do any of this because it's not lifestyle. Once you start making smaller, smaller, smaller tweaks, it's like getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth. It's like it's a habit. This will become part of an habit. And that's what me as a coach help in bringing.
Fantastic. Indeed, a healthy habit, but a lifestyle. I think menopause is not, you're right. It's like a journey. You're going to go through it. So, might as well have a lifestyle that supports the journey. Like every time, it's important that you see it not like, oh my gosh, there is the next 20 years I have to deal with, but more like, let me take one day at a time and at least get today a lot of tick boxes. And then I'm maybe going to go around the journey in the right format. Fantastic. Very helpful.
We heard a lot of noise and chatter and a lot of menopause topic today or conversation. Um, if it helped answer even a few questions or even maybe 1% of the noise which is in your head, I think I'll be very, very happy. And you know, stay in touch with us. You've got DJ's contacts, which will be there. And of course, you know me. And until next time, menopause, why pause? Let's play.